All right, so I'm gonna start with the obvious. Here I have with me right now is a special edition 2021 Ledgestone VX3 bag from Grip Equipment. I got this when I volunteered for the week at Ledgestone, which was an absolute blast. And I've since moved on to this from my original bag, which was a Dynamic Discs Paratrooper, which is a solid bag to start off with. But anyway, getting into this one, I'm gonna start with my putters, and then we're gonna work our way to the distance drivers. So here at the very top of the bag, we have a putter pouch. This is where I keep all of my putters. A little bit of a tight fit for how many that I have, but anyway, I have 4 putters in my bag. A couple of them I putt with and a couple throwing. I'm gonna start with the putting putters, which, no surprise, these are all challengers. I like the consistent feel of having the same mold in the bag, and I felt that I can get a very decent spread of stabilities with the challenger. So my putting putter is just a regular putter line challenger. I've liked the new plastic that Discraft came out with. It's quite tacky. It's not super stiff, but I do appreciate the stiffness for special scenarios, which I'll get into. But this here is just a purple putter line with the Force Indicator Open stamp on there. Love these things. And then my second putting putter, if you will, / approach is a special Ledgestone Crazy Tough Challenger. Now these things just go dead straight when I throw them as hard as I can. It'll just hold whatever line I put it on, and it literally will not fade out ever. So it just carries that line all the way to the ground, whether on hyzer, flat, or anhyzer. And it's also a great tack and great stiffness for when there's a lot of moisture, whether it's from my hand during the heat or it's very rainy outside. I usually go to this when I need some extra grip during those slippery conditions. And next to my throwing putters, once again, challengers. My first one is this blue Z-Flex Challenger. It's actually a relatively understable putter, so this is one I can either go easy on and have some decent glide for it to go straight, or I can really power up on it and make sure I get that nose angle down, and this will just kind of turn, and then hold that angle as it hits the ground. So very nice, consistent approach disc. And then I have a TI Challenger for all of my overstable wind fighting approach shots. This thing, it's beef. It flies more like a Challenger OS, the baseline Challenger OS. When you power up on it, it'll just go straight, and then the last third to maybe half of the flight will actually start fighting and then fading out. So very dependable, very reliable. Loving this thing. So next I'm gonna get into mid-ranges. Now everyone posts in the comments how you lay out your bag, but I work my way from mid-ranges on the left and distance drivers on the right. Like I'm reading a book or counting, you do low speeds to the left and high speeds to the right. I think I'm backwards from some people, but you let me know. So here we have our mid-ranges. I don't carry very many, I've only got 4. I'm gonna start with the most overstable and go to understable. And so I'm gonna start right here with my ProLine DGA Quake. I discovered DGA because of the players pack from Ledgestone. There was a rift in there, which I'll get to here very soon. But I've since been experimenting with DGA's plastics and their molds. And then I found the Quake. Now, I won't get on my soapbox for this, but I'll try to be brief. The Quake has been fantastic. For me, it is a hybrid of 3 Discraft discs: the Malta, the Drone, and the Zone, all in one disc. I throw all of my forehands that I would with my Zone with this guy. I throw all of my wind fighting distance, mid-range shots with the Quake instead of the Malta. And then that Drone with the super overstable finish, this guy's got it. So it's been a perfect disc where I can boil down those 3 discs that I did have in my bag into one. And so it's freed up a lot of space. So loving this guy. And then next is my ESP Buzz. ESP Buzzes I've found are just really straight for me. I power up on them and I get the nose angle down too, not a whole lot of nose up, and they'll just go straight, hold whatever line I throw. And then this one actually kind of finishes off on the end. So this is actually more of my stable wind fighting straight disc. And I'm liking it a lot. Next I get into my Rift. So this is the one that was in the player's pack. And I've since found the Rift really does hold true to its numbers. It's 5.4, -1, 1.5. I found that with the Rift, there's a decent amount of turn right out of the hand, unlike the Buzz, which if you do beat in a Buzz, it'll have a consistent turn as it ages. But this Rift, even when I started throwing it, just had a bit of turn right out of the hand, and then it'll hold its line really, really straight and then fade off, really regardless of how much power I put on it. But depending on the power, I'll get a little bit more turn on it right out of the hand. So if I want effortless distance for a mid-range distance, I throw the Rift. And if I throw 60% on this, it'll fly just like my Buzz if I threw it at 80%. So loving this disc. Kind of my understable slot as well. So when I power up on it flat, it'll kind of hold an anti-line and then just kind of land flat. So awesome disc. I recommend trying the Rift. And last is really the only diversion from the whole DGA Discraft lineup is a Axiom Discs Paradox. Now this thing is just so fun to throw. Only for mid-range distance. I don't throw it anything over 300 feet because if I try to power up on this thing unwittingly, then it'll just turn to oblivion. This thing is super fun. I throw this on 45-degree hyzer shots. I'll just flip up and right straight all the way to the ground, or just baby hyzer that'll turn over and never come back. So just a really fun disc to throw. I found it as more of a utility, just super understable plastic to fit in the bag. But we'll be looking at more uses for this here in the future. But definitely been fun. Next, I'm gonna go to Fairway Drivers. I actually carry more drivers than anything else in my bag, which I probably need to change up as I go along. But similar to my mid-range, gonna work overstable to understable. So this is my super beefy Z Raptor I picked up a couple months ago. Super flat top. It just feels awesome for forehands, and for backhands, this thing will pretty much start fading right out of the hand. It's really, really nice, and I throw this a lot. Next is an ESP Raptor. This one's a little bit straighter, but still has a pretty tough fade on it. It's got a little bit more dome to it, which I actually like. It gives it a little bit more glide and distance potential, so that's really, really nice. And then I recently picked up one of Dan Hastings' Z-Flex Raptors. I love this plastic. I like softer plastics typically, and I can just lay into this one, really grip into it, and it just comes off really nicely. And it has a really straight flight before it just fades off right at the end. So it's kind of that wind fighting straight disc. Not a ton of glide because it's a little bit flatter, but it's just good distance control, good fairway driver distance, and I like it a lot. Next, I've got my Missy Gannon 2020 Tour Series Undertaker. This thing is awesome. It's got a nice dome to it. It's also kind of a softer blend of Z, and this thing just goes for days if I'm throwing a fairway. So this is my All Reliable. It's my little lemon slice, and when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So that's what I do with this disc. Just perfect for throwing a little tiny bit of turn out of the hand, a lot of glide, and then a tiny bit of finish at the end. Super reliable, super awesome. I throw it in all weather, really great. Next, in stability, I have this ESP Undertaker. This one has a little bit more turn than that lemon slice, but it also has a touch less fade as well. So it's actually more of my effortless. I power down on this disc instead of throwing that Z Undertaker a lot. And then this will just kind of go straight for a while, maybe turn a little bit to the right, but then fade off at the end. Or if I want to throw an ante that doesn't turn into oblivion, I'll throw this one. It'll kind of hold that line and then pan more than just bail and roll. Which gets me to my Heat. I got this from a misprint box, and I've always loved the Heat. It was my very first driver I ever had with Discraft. And so this is incredibly domey, just a unique feel in the hand, but I like it a lot. It's just been comfortable. It's like coming back to home after having it as my first driver. So I throw rollers with this. I literally just go as low power as possible, give it a little bit of air, and this thing will have a tiny bit of flip up, ride right, and so it's just a super easy S-curve disc if I want to put it in the air, or I can do some really weird hyzer lines that just kind of flip over, similar to that Paradox, but in fairway driver form. So I love it a lot. Always have a heat in your bag if you're looking for some understable plastic. So super cool. Love it a lot. All right, and lastly for discs, my distance drivers. Similar setup as my fairway drivers. I have 6 of them, and I try to go to the philosophy where I minimize molds. I'm still in the discovery phase where I'm just trying to find a flight that matters, and if there's a mold that stock fits that flight, I'll go with that. Or if I find a different disc that may not necessarily by stock run fly the way I want it to, but it finds its way in my bag, I'll use it. So anyway, distance drivers. Here I've got a 2021 Andrew Presnell Force. Super overstable plastic. So it's my wind fighter. It just really starts fading right out of the hand. It probably just straight for 100 feet, 200 feet, and then it just really starts fading. So super reliable, super good. Next is a DGA Hurricane. Now I've heard from a lot of people that these discs typically are understable, which is why I tried to get it in my bag in the first place. But I've come to realize that this disc is just really overstable. Not quite as overstable as that Force, but this will go straight and then it'll start fading pretty hard, but it'll push fade, which is what I really like. So that's what I like about this disc, which is why it's made it in my bag. It's got a nice consistent dome to it, which is kind of my running theme throughout my bag. I like gentle dome. It just feels right in the hand, so loving this. Next is my very first Force I ever picked up. This is an ESP Force. Beautiful. I loved it as soon as I saw it and I had to get it. And blue is my favorite color, so if you couldn't tell. But just super notable disc. This one I've actually kind of beaten in a little bit, and it will have a tiny bit of turn, especially if I throw it into a headwind, max power. This thing will just kind of turn a few degrees, and if I throw it flat, it'll actually turn to the right before it ends up coming back left. And a little less fade than the first 2 discs. So this is kind of my old reliable distance driver wise, and Forces are great. So if you don't have a Force in your bag, you should. Next, and really lastly, I'm going to talk about my surges. This is my favorite mold for distance driver, mostly because there's a good variety of them. You can find them all over the place. They're not stock production anymore, which I'm really disappointed in. But if Discraft ever gets back into it, they really need to. And they need to focus on having the spread. They need to focus on having flatter, more overstable runs for my, somewhat straight / overstable finishing disc. They need to have ones with a little bit more dome that have a lot more glide, carry straight, maybe even turn a little bit more, and then fade off at the end. Bomber disc. And then really flat, understable versions, which I saw Chandler Fry throwing the Surge earlier this season, which was awesome to see because I rarely see the Surge in the Pro Tour anymore, which is disappointing. But anyway, this disc is just relatively flippy right out of the hand, but it'll end up holding its line about 2/3 of the way through the flight, which I really love about it. So this is kind of my really understable distance driver that I'll either put on a roller or I'll do a little bit more of a hyzer work on it if I want to get a max flight S-curve and give it some air. But yeah, Surge, great mold. Similar to Innova's Wraith compared to the Destroyer, you got Discraft's Zeus's or Forces are the overstable 12 speeds. If you're really trying to work distance drivers but don't quite have the arm speed, Surge is a great place to start. And these Ledgestone molds have been fantastic, especially with the dome. So really find one of those, put your own stamp on them, do some cool things with it. It's great. All right, so those are all of my discs. Next, I'm gonna get into all of my accessories. I'm gonna start on the outside of the bag. Firstly, if it's ever an early round or it's cold outside when you're getting started, I love to carry a thermal cup of sorts to carry my hot drink in there. I'll usually bring tea on the course. It's a great option. I found that it really helps settle my nerves but still give me the caffeine dosage that I need to keep moving forward. So, great thing there. And then also a water bottle. Always have your water on the course, whether it's casual or not, always carry water. And then I've got a sport sack here. This is a plastic Addicts sport sack. It's good to keep my hands dry if my hands are sweaty. It's typically what I go for, but I don't do anything else for my grip in a normal round. I just make sure I have a tiny bit of moisture to kind of keep that tack there on the disc, but that's it. And then in this side pouch right here, all microfiber towels. You can never have enough towels. I'll leave it at that. Next, I carry my Mini. This is my first Mini I got when I joined PDGA. Great profile, I like it a lot. Next in this right-hand side, this is where I keep a lot of my stuff. I'm gonna start with my own rain jacket, slash kind of wind jacket, if you will, windbreaker. Very good, plastic Addicts. This has just been a really great jacket, and I wear it for all sorts of weather, so it's good to have one to spare as well during your rounds. And then in that same pouch, I carry snacks with me. Love Nutri-Grain. These things have carried me through the last half dozen tournaments, so just really good. Nutri-Grain, looking for that sponsorship. Call me Yuli. But got that, and then I've got another spare Mini and spare sport sack. And then I'll usually put my personal effects in that pouch or this pouch over on the other side as well. A lot of space in this bag, especially in those side pouches. I got all of these towels and I don't even have the extender opened up. So I could stuff another half dozen towels in there. I already have 12, so a lot of room in this bag. And next, my main pouch here, this is where I keep the important stuff. Bushnell Edge rangefinder. Started using this after I got a little extra allowance for disc golf, and it's just amazing for all of those longer holes where you're looking for the distance when you're doing your approach shots. It's saved me some strokes. I'm not gonna say if you're playing just casually that you get one of these, but if you ever do decide to start playing in tournaments, this is a good tool to potentially saving you those 2 or 3 strokes throughout the round because you didn't quite know the distance. So recommend you getting one. This has been super helpful. And then the next major thing in my bag is a battery pack. Now this is less common you see in people's bags, but I found that, you know, with this, your phone is a key tool on the course. And when my phone is running low because it's always searching for network on a bad coverage course, you need an extra battery pack to give you that juice, or else, I mean, I can't tell you, even after a casual round, I'm not even keeping score or anything on it, but I need directions from the new course that I just went to, and my phone is dead. So that's a really tough situation to be in. So save yourself both on and off the course. There you go. And that's it. So anyway, it's been fun. Thanks for walking through my bag with me. I'm really looking forward to this 2022 season. Keep on the lookout for any of my new videos. Really appreciate you guys coming here to watch. If you guys could click that like button and subscribe, that would be fantastic. I'll have a lot more content coming out here, maybe some new announcements coming in the next couple months. But anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in for my very first video, and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.